All right, so obviously, if you're watching this and you're judging by the opening that I've put together for this video, you know we're going to be talking a little bit about the WWE. And we're going to eventually get into a little bit about the logistics of the WWE, because, you know, when I go to one of these shows, I'm more interested in how the show came together than I am the individual wrestler, though I do love the show. I've been a fan since I'm a kid. Wrestlers are some of my favorite comic book characters. And so my wife got this idea to go watch the WWE, to go to London and watch a house show. At first, I was a little bit skeptical that a house show could be as good as a Raw or a SmackDown. But we went, and shockingly, it was better than any Raw or SmackDown I've ever watched. Okay, now, I don't make a habit of going to these shows. I don't have the money to go to these shows. Apart from going to, I went to a Sunday Night Heat when I was younger. I went to WrestleMania 6 as a kid. And I went to a house show in Chatham, Ontario back when I was a teenager. Once I started driving a truck, I really didn't have time, you know, especially when I started raising a family. I didn't really have time to start going to these shows again or even watch much. But when WWE came back to Netflix, I got plugged back in again, and now that I'm pretty much used to seeing an all new cast of characters, I'm right back into it, just like I was when I was a kid. So we went to this house show in London, and my wife got this great idea. She's like, "Hey, why don't we go to the parking lot and we'll visit with, we'll try to get an eye on the wrestlers as they're coming in." Okay, all right, let's go. So we go to the show. We're a little bit early. We're a couple hours early, and we got to see several of the wrestlers come in. And my wife got a couple of autographs. She got LA Knight's autograph. She got, I can't remember who else's autograph she got. CM Punk, he was there. She got his autograph, and then others went through. Charlotte Flair went through. She was signing autographs. Byron, I think it's last name Gaines. Byron was there. He's usually an announcer. It was really cool. He ended up leading he led a birthday song for one of the audience members, a young girl. It was her birthday. And one thing I really appreciate when this guy was going through was just his energy. All right, if you know anything about the WWE, you know they have an extraordinarily busy schedule, and these guys are on the road an awful lot. So the fact that this guy was able to just come to the show with that much energy, the fact that any of them can come to the show with that much energy and make it something special for the kids especially, that says a lot about maybe their passion for what they're doing. So that's how it started when we got there. The only complaint I think I would have would be against the wrestlers. It would be a critique of the audience. You know, part of me thinks that when it comes to the barricades, the kids should be the first ones to be pushed up to the barricades, because, you know, we're adults, we're old, we know better. It's all fiction, but to the kids, it's like they're the next generation, number one, and number two, for them, it's larger than life to see these wrestlers, right? So there's a kid standing behind me crying because he couldn't get up to the barricade, right? I felt terrible for him, but so that'd be my only criticism. Maybe, you know, it'd be on our part, right? Maybe make it more magical for the kids, right? So we go in after we're done this. We go in, and then you know, one thing I started noticing that the show itself, as a house show, it's a bit more dialed down. So the ring, it's a different ring. It doesn't have the fancy posts on it with all the lighting. The guardrails, they look like kind of old school guardrails, or something you might even see in an indie show, with WWE banners all over them. So it's more dialed down. There's no announcer tables either. And one thing I really liked was there was no advertisements all over the mat. The mat was nice and clear, right? So it's a bit more dialed down, I would say. But the show itself, you know, that's one of my favorite things about going to these. It's the smells. It's you know, being around the talent. It's taking part in the rituals. You know, whenever a wrestler comes out, you start chanting whatever it is you chant, whatever chant goes along with them. It's just the whole energy, right? And you know, if I didn't know this was a house show, I would never have guessed it was a house show, because the energy was out of this world. It was deafening how loud this hockey arena was. especially when Kevin Owens came out, Oba Femi. It was just loud. Everybody was right into it. So as cool as the wrestlers are, though, like I said, what gets me is what goes into the show. It's what's around the show, right? Because I'm interested in the logistics of it all, right? I can see that this is a massive undertaking, and so as much as I enjoy the wrestlers themselves, I appreciate them taking the time out of their schedule to come sign autographs, which, by the way, could be worth several $100s. So I enjoy the show. I enjoy the rituals. I enjoy the smells and the bells, right? The deafening roars of the crowd, the pops, all of that. When you get looking at everything around you that's going on, you realize that the wrestlers are just a small piece of this giant machinery, right? Called the WWE. Now they're very important. They're like the salespeople of the WWE. They're the charismatic mouthpieces that put butts in seats, right? And without the wrestler, obviously there's no wrestling federation, right? But they are the reason why we put our money out. But behind them, there's an entire infrastructure that makes it even possible for them to be the superstars that they are. So I'm looking around last night out of habit, and I go around to the loading dock, and I see a trucking company called ICAT Logistics. Now, ICAT Logistics, they haul everything. Okay, they're a logistical company. What is logistics? Logistics is the art of getting things from point A to point B, right, as seamless as possible, as efficiently as possible. That is logistics. And ICAT Logistics, actually, they purchased Stage Line. Stage Line has been around since the 80s. They were an entertainment trucking company, or logistics company. They deal with pretty much any kind of entertainment show, sporting, music. If you just go on their Facebook page, it'll say formerly Stage Call, now ICAT Logistics. So ICAT added Stage Call to their portfolio. They've been doing business with the WWE ever since. And so when you see ICAT, that's the story behind it right there. But they're on the road. I've read about them, and maybe if there's an ICAT driver, that they're on the road for like 3 months at a time, right? It's a busy company. So ICAT's job is, when the WWE has a show, their job is to make it happen. Their job is to get all the is to take all the moving parts and harmonize them, right? So get the ring where it needs to be at the right date, at the right time, and then they need to strike it as soon as the show is over. They need to reload it back up, get it back on the road to go where it needs to go. And I did a podcast a while back. I was talking about logistics because I hauled freight for Honda, and I used to say I hated hauling Honda of America freight because those were contracted out by Siva Logistics, and Siva is a massive logistical company itself, right? And if you were late as a driver, you were going to hear about it because there was really no excuse, right? They operate, everything is a metric to them, right? They're looking at how quickly you got that freight there, how much came off, was it on time, right? Because they don't want to be responsible for shutting down Honda's lines. Well, likewise, ICAT, I can't even imagine being in management at ICAT because the WWE has shows that are live, and they need everything to be in place exactly on time, no excuses. So I can't even imagine if the truck gets detained, the truck breaks down, a driver's out of hours, just anything. There's an accident on the freeway. If you're ICAT, your entire job is to work around all of that without any excuse and getting the infrastructure where it needs to, getting the hardware where it needs to be on time, right? So that's ICAT. And then when I look over to the left, so the wrestlers were right in front of us. I look over to the left across the road. I saw Stage Line Logistics from Toronto. That's another entertainment type trucking company. And it's interesting because they were leaving London to go right to Toronto. So this trucking company was staged across the road from the hockey arena where the WWE did their show last night. And right at the end of the show, I'm assuming they were involved in it because they had all of their trucks fired up at about 11 o'clock at night. They were all fired up. So they were probably, if I had to guess, they're probably maybe they were contracted third party by ICAT Logistics, and they're going to assist in bringing the show to Toronto. So yeah, and then beyond that, you see, you've got, I saw local police, local security, local paramedics, local vendors, local local caterers. So all these different parties would have been contracted somehow. I don't know if it would have been ICAT having anything to do with that, or if that would have just been the WWE, right? That would have been part of the logistics operation. So anyways, like there's this massive, this is just one show, by the way. This is one cluster of shows, right? The amount of organization they have to have, they must have a director, and then underneath them, there must be several managers that are constantly talking to each other, coordinating with each other, because they're planning for several months ahead, right? So anyway, they have to somehow bring it all together. So anyway, it's a massive undertaking going into one of these shows. So anyways, that's my reaction on this entire show that I watched last night. It's fascinating to me. So anyway, let me know what you think. Did you go to that show last night? What did you think of that show? Anyways, till next time, cheers, keep the rubber side down.